At the beginning of the story, we see a boy named Helm who has been lonely and depressed ever since his mother's death. Helm's mother died 2 years ago by drowning in the lake near their house. However, he believes that his stepmother must have killed his mother, and his father must have supported her because she was once his secretary. After his mother's death, Helm's father married his secretary. Helm also didn't have a good relationship with his father, and he didn't want to live with his father and stepmother, so he spent all day in the treehouse built in the forest near his house, living alone. He developed a habit of spying on people who came into the forest using binoculars, and he would write about them in his diary. He also used to write his inner thoughts in that diary. One day, Helm's stepmother reads his diary, where he has written about the people he was spying on, along with praising her beauty. After reading this, Helm's stepmother goes to his treehouse and seduces him. Helm can't stop himself, and both get close. Afterward, Helm's stepmother blackmails him and sends him to another city to prevent him from turning his father against her. Helm arrives in an unknown city, alone, with no place to stay and no money. He ends up spending the night on the rooftop of a building without food. The next morning, Helm spots a woman named Kate on the street. Kate looks very similar to his late mother, and upon seeing her, Helm is convinced at first that she might be his mother. He follows Kate and watches her enter a hotel. Helm also enters the hotel and finds out that Kate is the hotel manager. Helm approaches Kate and asks if there is any work available. After some questioning, Kate hires him to work in the hotel kitchen. Helm, who was in desperate need of work, starts the job and does it with great dedication, enjoying it as well. After work, Helm starts following Kate and observing her daily routine. He watches where she goes, what she does, and even looks at her house. One day, when Kate isn't at work, Helm sneaks into her house. When he looks out the window, he sees a clock tower, and he thinks that Kate's house is well visible from the clock tower. He used to work just below that clock tower. While he's at Kate's house, she arrives unexpectedly, so Helm climbs up to the roof and starts spying through the skylight. Helm, who used to sleep in a small room in the hotel, soon creates a home for himself in the clock tower room where no one comes and goes. This gives him the perfect opportunity to observe Kate through the binoculars. From then on, Helm watches Kate every day through the telescope, seeing her dance and work. One day, while Helm is spying on Kate from the clock tower, he notices that a senior hotel employee visits her house. The two seem to be enjoying themselves. The next day, while Helm is heading up to the clock tower, the senior hotel employee spots him and stops him, saying that only senior staff are allowed to go up there. Later, when Helm is working in the kitchen, Kate approaches him and asks how he likes the job. Helm replies that he enjoys it, and Kate is pleased to hear that. That night, when Helm is spying on Kate from her rooftop, he sees her with the same senior employee, and through their conversation, he learns that the senior is married with 2 kids, and that he is having an affair with Kate. This revelation deeply disturbs Helm. He later retreats to the clock tower, where he begins to connect his feelings of anger and betrayal to his own family's situation. He suspects that his father and stepmother had an affair for a long time, and when his mother found out about it, she must have gone to confront his stepmother. At that point, his stepmother may have killed his mother so that she could live happily with his father. Helm then goes to the police station and files a case against his stepmother for his mother's murder, claiming that his father is not supporting him. The next day, Kate calls Helm to her office and offers him a job at the front desk of the hotel. Helm agrees, and soon he enjoys the work and makes a new friend. One day, while Helm is spying on Kate from the clock tower, the same senior employee notices him and realizes that Helm has been spying on Kate. The senior threatens Helm, saying that he will have him arrested and fired, but Helm responds by blackmailing the senior, revealing that he knows about the affair between the senior and Kate. Helm then forces the senior to keep quiet and not fire him. The next day, Kate wishes Helm a happy birthday. Helm turns 19, and his coworker learns about it and asks for a party. Kate also encourages Helm to celebrate his birthday, so they plan to go to a bar that night. At the bar, Helm, his coworker, and Kate drink together. Helm's coworker gets very drunk and leaves, while Helm and Kate continue to drink and talk. After some time, Kate takes Helm back to her house. She is drunk and starts getting closer to Helm, but he refuses. They end up going to sleep without anything happening. Helm falls asleep next to Kate, feeling happy that the girl he had been spying on is now sleeping beside him. The next day, when Helm goes to work, he immediately asks Kate out on a date, but she rejects him, saying that whatever happened last night was a mistake due to her being drunk. Helm feels sad but leaves. After some time, Helm is called into a hotel room where Kate begins to get close to him, and they finally become intimate. Helm starts feeling happy with Kate, and she also seems to be happy with him. One day, when Helm is spying on Kate from the clock tower, he sees the senior hotel employee arguing with Kate. The senior employee angrily tries to hit her. Seeing this, Helm gets furious and jumps into Kate's house from the skylight to stop the senior. However, the senior hits Helm and tells Kate that Helm had been spying on her every day from the clock tower. Kate is initially shocked and asks Helm if he had been watching her all along. Helm admits it, explaining that he had been watching her ever since he saw her and that it was because she reminded him of his late mother. Kate gets angry and tells Helm to leave, firing him from the hotel. The next day, as Kate arrives home from work, she sees Helm sitting outside the hotel. She feels pity for him and takes him to her house. Kate then asks Helm why he had been watching her. Helm opens up, telling her about his mother's death 2 years ago, how he couldn't get over it, and how watching Kate reminded him of her. Kate feels bad for Helm and comforts him. The next day, when Helm goes to work, he learns that his parents had come to see him. They had found his address through the police station after he filed the case against his stepmother. However, no evidence was found to support his claims, so no action could be taken against his stepmother. Helm's father tells him that they have a lot of debt and will have to sell some of their land to pay it off. To do this, they ask Helm to sign a will that his mother had left in his name before her death. Helm is suspicious that his stepmother might be involved in this, so he refuses to sign it. His stepmother insults him, and they leave. That night, Helm is disturbed by the thoughts of his stepmother's words, where she said his mother's death was an accident and that he should forget about it. Helm gets angry and decides to return home the next day. He takes a train and goes back. In his anger and sadness, he sneaks into his stepmother's house, ties her up, and drags her to the lake to drown her. However, as she begins to drown, Helm realizes he is wrong and saves her. He apologizes to her and she leaves. Then Helm's father finally reveals that his mother had been depressed for a long time and had taken her own life. Helm realizes that he was wrong in his accusations, and he apologizes to his father. Later, Helm decides to go to Kate's house, but she refuses to meet him, telling him that her relationships have never been good and she doesn't want to be in a relationship with anyone right now. Kate tells him to come back after a few years if he still wants to pursue a relationship. Helm leaves, but as he walks down the street, a smile appears on his face, and he thinks that one day he will meet Kate again.